Bihari. Prabhuji, can you sing with me? Sanatana Goswami Prabhu. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradari.
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 Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana,
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana,
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana,
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana,
Yamuna Tira Vanachari,
Yamuna Tira Vanachari,
Yamuna Tira Vanachari,
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradari.
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana,
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana,
Yamuna Tira Vanachari,
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
Jai Radha Radhe Hari Radha Radhe Hari Radhe
Jaya Radha Radhe Hari Radhe
Jai Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Shyam Sundar Radhe
Jaya Radha Shyam Sundar Radhe
Jai Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe
Jaya Radha Madhav Radhe
Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram
Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram
Jaya Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Jaya Radhe Shyam
Jaya Radhe Shyam Jaya Radhe Shyam
Jaya Radha Krishna Chandra Radha Krishna Chandra Radhe
Jaya Radha Krishna Chandra Radhe
Jaya Jagannath Baladeva Subhadra Devi Jaya Jagannath Baladeva Subhadra Devi
Jagannatha Baladeva Subhadra Devi Jaya Jagannatha Baladeva Subhadra Devi
Jaya Gopal Deva Jaya Gopal Deva Gopal Deva Jaya Gopal Deva
Jaya Gopal Deva Jaya Gopal Deva Gopal Deva Jaya Gopal Deva
Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai
Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai
Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani Tulsi Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani
Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani
Jaya Chat Goswami Jaya Guru Parampara Chat Goswami Jaya Guru Parampara
Jaya Shad Goswami Jaya Guru Parampara Shad Goswami Jaya Guru Parampara
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev
Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev
Jaya Sripad Maharaj Jaya Sripad Maharaj Jaya Sripad Maharaj
Jaya Sripad Maharaj Jaya Sripad Maharaj Jaya Sripad Maharaj
Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivridika Acharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad Divine Grace Bhakti Sarupa Damodar Sang Maharaj ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivridika Acharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad Divine Grace Abhay Charana Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivritika Acharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki Jai अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री आकाश ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय मायापुर धाम की जय मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय द्वारका धाम की जय अयोध्या धाम की जय पंढरपुर धाम की जय गंगा मई की जय, यमुना मई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय,
जय
श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र मंदिर की जय, गोपाल जी मंदिर की जय, गुरु महाराज समाधि मंदिर की जय, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय.
नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. नक्षत्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Hare Krishna and welcome all for this on behalf of Bhaktivedanta Institute for this wonderful discussion on the transcendental science of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the Amala Puran. I wish to thank Bhaktivedanta Institute for entrusting me with this important seva today, and I would like to share a few thoughts on this verse, but I am not qualified to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam, but I will do it as a service to all the Vaishnavas present here for my own self-purification and for my spiritual advancement. I pray to all of you with all my humility to kindly shower your prayers and mercy, blessings upon me, so that I am able to say a few words which are appropriate for this particular show. We are discussing this morning Bhagavatam Canto 7, Chapter 2, titled Hiranyakashipu, the King of Demons. And the verses we are covering today are 56 and 57. 56 and 57. So 56 verse is there on the screen now. Evam kulingam vilapantamara priya viyoga turama shrukantham sa evatam shakunikah sharena vivyadakala prahito vilinaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Because of the loss of his wife, the Kulinga bird lamented with tears in his eyes. Meanwhile, following the dictations of the mature time, the hunter, who was very carefully hidden in the distance, released his arrow, which pierced the body of the Kulinga bird and killed him. There is no purport. We go to verse 57 and then we shall discuss both the verses together. Text number 57. Evam yuyam apashyantya atmapayam abhuddhaya nainam prapsyata shochantya patim varsha shaterapi. Evam yuyam apashyantya atmapayam abhuddhaya nainam prapsyata shotantyah patim varsha shaterapi. Evam, thus, yuyam, you, apashyantaha, not seeing, atma apayam, own death, Abudhaya, O ignorant ones, na, not, enam, him, prapsayata, you will obtain, Shochanyaha, lamenting for, Patim, your husband, Varshashatehe, for 100 years, Api, even. Translation. Thus, Yamaraj, in the guise of a small boy, told all the queens, you are all so foolish that you lament, but do not see your own death. Afflicted by a poor fund of knowledge, you do not know that even if you lament for your dead husband for hundreds of years, you will never get him back alive. And in the meantime, your lives will be finished. Purport. Yamaraj once asked Maharaj Yudhishthir, what is the most wonderful thing within this world? Maharaj Yudhishthir replied from Mahabharata Vanaparva 13.116. Ahani ahani bhutani gachantiha yamalayam shesha sthavaram icchanti kim ashcharyam ataha param. Hundreds and thousands of living entities meet death at every moment. But a foolish living being nonetheless thinks himself deathless and does not prepare for death. This is the most wonderful thing in this world. Everyone has to die because everyone is fully under the control of material nature. Yet, everyone thinks that he is independent, that whatever he likes he can do, and that he never will meet death, but will live forever, and so on. So-called scientists are making various plans by which living entities in future can live forever. But while they are pursuing such scientific knowledge, Yamaraj, in due course of time, will take them away from their business of so-called research. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadabhayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guruhu Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajadam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuva Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Swarupa Damodara Swami Niti Namini Namasad Bhakta Maniye Manipur Udbhavaya Cha Srila Prabhupada Lasatavani Pracharine Ratayate Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So once again, welcoming all for these wonderful discussions continuing on the Srimad Bhagavatam. So yesterday, His Holiness Govind Maharaj gave us a lot of enlightenment and wisdom from the previous 4 or 5 verses that describes the episode of trapping of the Kulinga bird. So the she bird gets trapped, and the trap is laid by the hunter, and the male bird, the companion of the she bird, is lamenting that his companion is trapped and is about to be taken by the hunter. So his cause of lamentation is actually twofold. One is that because his children, that means his children are actually hungry. They are elsewhere and they are waiting for the food. And other thing, he's feeling that if something happens to their mother, that is his companion, what will happen to them? Who will take care of them? They will die starving, because mother across any species, not only human being, across all species, actually is epitome or represents love, care, maintenance, and so all that is part of the mother's responsibility. And so thus actually he was lamenting, and while he was lamenting, the hunter actually shot the arrow on him and he got killed. So this is exactly the situation that we are all facing in our day-to-day lives also. So this episode has got actually a deep-rooted meaning across our lives, and we need to understand how to apply this and take the lessons and realization, so that we aspire for the higher aspects of human life, and only in human life this is possible. So we shall discuss some of these things along with the next verse also. So see, parents across all species, are generally, they feel that they are the protectors, or they feel that they are the, benefactors of the children. Okay. Now, due to this, they sometimes feel that if we don't do that, then who will take care? Our children will suffer. And so they take it upon themselves, and they come under this illusory spell of Maya, which makes them to, or tricks their mind to believe in I and mine. So this is basically the typical symptom. But actually, who is the real benefactor? Now, for example, Yamaraj, when he is coming and giving this knowledge, he is coming in the guise of a small boy, and he tells the queens assembled there that, look, I am such a young person. If somebody had to kill me, they could have killed me in the forest. I'm coming from the forest. There is wild animals, tigers, but look, nothing has happened to me. So therefore, the thought that somebody has to protect you is actually absurd. There is only one person who can protect you, and that is the Almighty, Supreme Personality. Bhaktaram yagat tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhirdam sarva bhutanam atvam shantim richati. So here clearly we understand that it is only one person who can really protect us. And this is the lesson that we can learn from this episode of the killing of the Kulinga bird. Then we come to the realization also that material world is full of miseries, because in every step there is a danger. Now, who would have thought that this Kulinga bird, she bird, is innocent? The hunter just laid a trap. In that trap, there was some eatables or food items for the bird. So the bird was coming and eating, and immediately there was a net around it, and it was caught. So this Kulinga bird actually represents us, and the hunter actually represents Maya. Just like how the hunter has beautifully trapped the bird and her companion also in the process, similarly, Maya is waiting for an opportunity to trap us. So therefore, we have to come out of this agyan or ignorance and enlighten ourselves through the scriptures, through the knowledge of the acharyas, Vedic wisdom, so that we understand things in the proper perspective. Bhagavatam 10th canto 14.58 says, Samashritaye padam pallava palavam mahat padam punya yasho murare bhavam buddhirvats padam param padam 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 yat vipadam natesham. That means for a person who takes the shelter of his guru and thus serves the Lord, okay, for him this entire Bhavsagar, okay, or this material ocean is comparable to just a small quantity that can fit into the hoof of a calf. You can imagine how small it is. Otherwise, for a person who is not doing that, the normal person in the material world, who is immersed into the material world, for him it is padam padam yat vipadam na tesham. So every step there is a danger, and one day, like this Kalinga bird, we will be shot by the arrows of Maya, and we will keep going deeper and deeper down in this, like a quicksand. The quicksand pulls you down. So similarly, we will be pulled down and down into the hellish planets. So I'm remembering the practical episodes which have happened in my life, in my family. I will narrate 2 or 3 instances which basically supplement what we are talking in terms of theoretical understanding here. In the year 95, when my elder son Amarendra was 3 years old, and we were living in Saudi Arabia at that time, we had, on a weekend visited a very big shopping mall. And this shopping mall was very massive. Massive in the sense, it had got multiple exits, maybe 8 or 10 exits, okay? And Amarendra, there was one more family with us. They also had a couple of children, and Amarendra was with us. And, we were paying attention on him, yet suddenly he disappeared from our eyesight. And next thing, I'm asking the family who were with us, have you seen my son? They said, no, we thought he's with you. And he's not to be seen anywhere in that. So the first thing when something happens like that is we look in the nearby circle, whether you can find the child or not. We were not able to find him. And 5 minutes, 10 minutes passed, and 15 minutes passed. That's when my fear grew. I thought, this is something very serious. I mean, maybe somebody has kidnapped him, or maybe he has ran somewhere and he's not able to come here, and we don't know. Now there are 10 exits. Where do I go and search? So I was panic stricken, and I was just, praying in my own way. And I went to the first exit, I couldn't find. I went to the second exit, I couldn't find. Then suddenly, through some Paramatma guidance, I went to the diagonally opposite exit, which could be, it's not in sequence, but somewhere else. I just ran there and saw. and I found him there. Now, if I had been late by another maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes, who knows? Somebody would have kidnapped him, or he would have gone further outside, and it would have been a different story altogether. But it was the Lord who saved us from that situation. So it gives you some realization at that point of time that material world is full of danger. Whatever you do from your side, you cannot stop this danger. Another episode, 1999, when I was in Krishna consciousness also, but not fully in Krishna consciousness. I was enjoying materialistic life also, and it was sort of a high-flying, happy-go-lucky life. That's the way we, have before we come to Krishna consciousness. And I had gone on a business tour to Chennai, and then that evening there was some time we went to Tirupati along with my local colleague, and we came back in the night around 2 o'clock or something. We came back to Chennai. Now I have taken an auto along with my colleague to go to the hotel. It is raining, okay, and I am not paying attention to which direction this auto person is going. But suddenly I noticed that this auto person has taken a low entry road, maybe for shortcut. And this is people who know Chennai will know there is something called as Nungambakam junction, that the road is actually curving like this. So it's called a Sterling corner or something. So when I was in the auto, and this auto is also going, suddenly from the opposite side, one car is coming in full speed, because for him it is the right direction. And the next thing I am seeing is that it's going to be a head-on collision. I don't have even a fraction of a moment to react. And I thought that's the end of it. Okay, and it was bang like that, and I was thrown out of the auto in just like a particle. I was thrown out, and the auto driver died on the spot. My colleague was trapped in that auto. The auto looked like a big ball after some time. Somehow, I got second life. It was a real near-death experience, but I just microseconds, nanoseconds before the accident, somehow I said Krishna, because I thought of my children. They were very small, and I said Krishna. That's all. I don't know. And next minute I'm outside. Krishna saved me. Okay, and then I got a second life. I took my spiritual life more seriously, and most importantly, I took the shelter of our Gurudev. And then in 2008, yet another accident, but this accident was of a different nature. I was driving myself. I had just come back from US after a long trip, and I was having heavy jet lag, but I was still had gone to office. And that day there was one client, Glenmark Pharmaceuticals in Mahape, Navi Mumbai. They invited me for a techno-commercial discussion. It was a big deal closure, so I took the risk of driving without knowing that how this jet lag is going to impact me. I was on top of the Navi Mumbai Vashi bridge, and I dozed off. I don't know anything. Okay, and the next thing I know is that Narasimha from the altar of my car jumped out and hit my chest. That's when I woke up, and suddenly I saw that I am just close to a 10 feet deep pit, and I applied my brake. Otherwise, I would have gone inside the pit. So Krishna gives ample opportunities and examples through his Leela of how if you're sincerely praying to him, he will protect. There is a saying, Rake Krishna Mare Krishna Rake Ke. So this is basically the the whole crux of the matter, that material world is full of danger. So the lesson that we need to take from this verse 56 of Kalinga bird is that we are just like that. Any moment death will come. Death is actually around the corner. There is no guarantee that we are going to live for 75 years or 80 years or 85 years. Anything can happen next moment. So we should be like, even if death has to come, we should be like Namacharya. Namacharya Haridas Thakur prayed when Mahaprabhu asked him at the time of, when he was about to leave his body, Haridas, please tell me what is your last wish. I will fulfill that. He said, no, I do not have any wish. No, Haridas, please ask me what is your last wish. I will fulfill that. So Haridas just said that, oh Lord, I want to just remember you at the time of death. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Sri Vasadi, Gaur Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Namacharya Haridas was chanting 3 lakhs names a day, that is 192 rounds. And immediately, Mahaprabhu granted him that boon, so he could live in his body in that way. That is the fortune of chanting the name or remembering the Lord at the time of death. So we need to get to that kind of realization. But here we find that in the next verse, Hiranyakashipu. Now the story again comes back to Hiranyakashipu, who is giving this pravachan. So it's actually Hiranyakashipu's pravachan. Hiranyakashipu is giving the pravachan to whom? To his brothers, that is Hiranyaksha's sister, sorry, Hiranyaksha's wife, that is Rishabhanu, and to his mother Diti, and to their children, because they are lamenting for the death of Hiranyaksha. So he is trying to pacify them by quoting this particular episode that Yamaraj has mentioned to the queens of Ushinara king, namely Suyigna. So Bhagavatam is wonderful, so relishable, isn't it? Like there is a story inside a story, inside a story, inside a story. You know, I remember in my childhood days, when I used to watch movies, I used to be fascinated by movies which had flashback. I thought the movies which had flashback were the, they are for different class, because that needs some intellect to analyze further that you have gone into the flashback and then you're understanding and going into that particular situation. Whereas here we find that Bhagavatam is the mother of all flashbacks. You know, there are so many stories inside. So you have Sukadev Goswami giving the knowledge of Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, and that is being heard by Sutta Goswami, and he repeats that at Naimisharanya to the sages. And in that, he quotes Hiranyakashipu's episode, and Hiranyakashipu in turn quotes Yamaraj's episode of this particular, Ushinara king named Suyogna. So it's wonderful. So here, Yamaraj, in the guise of a small boy, so he says, Evam yuyam apashayanta atmapayam abuddhaya nayanam prapshayata sochanta nayanam prapshayata sochayata patim varsha shaterapi. So Yamaraj comes in the guise of a small boy and he gives this Gyani to the queen. So first of all, why does Yamaraj come? A, and B, why does he have to come in the guise of a small boy? Okay, so we understood that Yamaraj comes because those queens, they cried so loudly, they were not able to control their tears and their cries, that it crossed it hit the roofs of the universe and it went up to Yamalok. So Yamaraj came to give this knowledge. He felt it was appropriate for him because otherwise these queens cannot be pacified. Now the next question, why did Yamaraj come as a 5-year-old boy? So the answer is very logical, because see, we normally observe that when a child comes and speaks some words, wisdom, it appeals to the masses. It sounds very sweet because the child is very innocent, the child is very pure, and then automatically we get attracted to the words. Now, I remember in early 2000s, when there was this book marathon every year in this Radha Rasbihari Mandir, Juhu, we used to have stall, our BI stall. So at that time, we used to keep all the books in the stall, but we used to push our children to sell the books. Our children that time were very small, maybe 8 and 5 years old. But we used to give them some books and we used to tell them that you say these things to that person who is walking there, and it worked. So they used to go and they used to come back, take for fresh books, go sell, come back, go take fresh books, come back. And the same people, when they came to our booth and we were trying to talk, somehow they said, okay, we will buy it next time. So when we sent the children to sell the books, they found it more appealing, and to satisfy the children, at least they were buying the books. So this is the logic that Yamaraj used, that he came in the guise of a very young boy and he gave this Gyan to the queens of Suyognya. And this is being now narrated by Hiranyakashipu. So Yamaraj tells the queens that you are all so foolish that you are lamenting, but you do not see your own death. Afflicted by a poor fund of knowledge, you do not know that even if you lament for your dead husband for 100 years, you will never get him back alive. In the meantime, your lives will be finished. So, so this here, Yamaraj basically mentions two things. One is the foolish nature of the Jivatma, especially one who is in mode of ignorance. And because of the poor fund of knowledge, you are not able to see your own self. So how come that Hiranyakashipu is narrating this? Hiranyakashipu at the end of the day is a demon. But why is Hiranyakashipu mentioning this? So Hiranyakashipu, despite being a demon, we understand that he is quite intelligent. He is quite knowledgeable. Okay, and but what he lacks is the science of self-realization. And because of that, because there is no realization, he's aspiring to kill Vishnu, that is to take revenge for the killing of his brother. So what it means is that knowledge alone is not enough. Knowledge alone is not enough. You have to supplement that with basically Vigyan. That means spiritual technology, as Guru Maharaj used to say, application of spiritual technology. And when you apply that with spiritual technology, and then you serve a pure soul devotee, then the knowledge can be, the self-realized soul will transfer the knowledge to us. So as it is said here, that the process is explained in Bhagavad Gita 4.34. Tadvidhi pranipatena prashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaniva sattva darshina. So it's a top-down scientific process where the seer who is possessing this self-realization, he transfers to whom? To a surrendered soul, to a surrendered disciple. And this disciple has to approach the spiritual master in the most humble manner. He has to surrender to him in the most humble manner. He has to ask right questions in a most submissive manner. And then, and he is also served, sevaya. So when he does that, then this knowledge that the seer has got, the jnanam, is automatically transferred. Tattva darshana is transferred to the disciple. And that's how we get the self-realization. And neither was Hiranyakashipu Pandita Samadarshana, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmane Gavi Hastini, Sunicha Eva Swapakicha, Pandita Samadarshina. So on the contrary, Hiranyakashipu was a killer. He had ordered that his people to go down to the Bhuloka, kill all the Brahmanas, kill all the cows. So obviously it's not Pandita Darshana. So therefore, whatever he is sharing cannot be categorized as a self-realized knowledge. For self-realization, one has to follow the process as already explained. So Lord Kapila further explains that the devotional service has to be performed in perfect knowledge and with transcendental vision. Okay, and this must be performed in a renounced state of mind. That means jnanena drishta tattvena. Jnanena, that is knowledge. Okay, drishta tattvena, that means you have then the transcendental vision. Vairagyena baliyasa, with complete renouncement. When you serve like this, then that devotional service becomes fully spiritual, and the person is completely, under the devotional service, is fully self-realized. So this is actually the process, whereas Hiranyakashipu is not following this process. Now, what do we learn from this purport that Srila Prabhupada has explained so wonderfully here? So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions Yamaraj had put some question to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So we understand from Mahabharata episode that when the Pandavas were in exile, they were going in different places for 12 years. At that time, they came across this place, that is Kamyavan. And that place, Kamyavan, that lake is still there, where this Leela took place. So they were feeling very thirsty. So when they were feeling thirsty, it was decided that Bhima will go first and then he will get some water for everyone. So when Bhima approached that lake, immediately he heard a Vani. And this Vani said, please stop. You cannot touch this water unless you answer my question. If you answer my question correctly, then you are permitted to drink this water. Otherwise, you will die. So Bhima was puzzled. Who can stop me? I am the person who is expert in, playing this, fighting with the Gada. How can somebody stop me? And that also for drinking water. For water drinking, do I need permission? So he did not heed any, to the advice. He did not listen to this advice. And then he went and drank that water. And immediately what happened? He died. Then Bhima did not return. So Yudhishthira Maharaj sent Nakul and Sahadev, one after another. So they also met with the same fate. They also did not return. Okay. Then Yudhishthira Maharaj sent Arjuna. Arjuna went. Arjuna also met with the same fate, because these are all typical Kshatriyas. They are all working in the mode of passion. Now in passion, certain things they will do because their mind is tuned to accomplish it. It's purely in the mode of passion. Now Yudhishthira Maharaj, even though he was a Kshatriya, was more in the mode of goodness. So when Arjuna also did not turn up because he also died, then Yudhishthira Maharaj went and he saw that all his brothers were lying down dead. And then he went to fetch the water. Then he heard the same Vani. Then he turned around and he saw that Yamaraj has now come in the form of a Yaksha. And he was sitting on top of a tree. And he was telling Yudhishthira Maharaj that your brothers have died because they did not answer. Now, if you want to meet the same fate, go and drink the water. Otherwise, you answer 5 questions of mine. Because they did not answer, now you have to answer 5 questions. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, because he was in the mode of goodness, immediately accepted. He felt that this is actually the mercy of the Lord, and he one by one, he went on answering. Now in that, Prabhupada has given this most important question, which is mentioned here. This is the question that Yudhishthira Maharaj asked. He asked him, which is the most wonderful thing within this world? And Yudhishthira Maharaj replies, Ahani hani bhutani gachantiha yamaliyam shesha stavaram icchanti himmacharyam ataha param. That means every moment, hundreds and thousands of living beings are going to Yamalayam, that is Yamaloka, and shaking hands with Yamaraj. That is, they are meeting death. And yet, the foolish living being thinks that I'm not going to die. So because of the fact that he is foolish out of ignorance, and because of the fact that he thinks I'm not going to die, he does not prepare for death. So this is the most wonderful thing in the world. And immediately Yamaraj said, yes, this is the right answer. And then he made others who were dead, his brothers, they all became alive. So Prabhupada further says that everyone has to die. So, Prabhupada usually in his lectures, he says, as sure as death. Okay. So what does it mean? It means Mrityu Sarva Haras Chaham, as in Bhagavatam, Krishna says 10.34. So as sure as death means anybody who is born has to die. Okay. Now it's a foolish people who think, like, see these goats who are in the slaughterhouse, they are lined up and they are fed with all these nice grasses. So they are so busy eating these grasses, and they are seeing also that another goat is being slaughtered, but they think that that goat is getting slaughtered, but I will not be slaughtered. But slowly the conveyor belt, it keeps on going, and their turn also comes. So dear devotees, this is exactly the same situation that we are all in. Somehow, by the spell of Maya, and because of the fact that we are in the mode of ignorance, we feel that this will not happen to us, or even if it happens, It will happen maybe after several years, 70, 75, 80. Until that time, I've got a lot of time to, live my life the way I want. So this is basically, so everyone thinks, Prabhupada says, everyone thinks that he's independent and whatever he likes, he can do. And he will never meet death, but live forever. So what is the problem here? So the problem here is that basically we plan our lifestyle based on this assumption that I will not die or I will live for very, very long time. Okay. So let us see practically what all we do in life to, to go hand in hand with this particular statement. Now, when a child is about to be born and the childbirth is, they were awaiting the childbirth, already plans are being made. What name has to be kept for the child, and then if the male child, we should do this. If the female child, we should do this. And the moment the child is born, out of all the pains it has undergone and comes out crying, in deep pain, we welcome the child. Oh, please come, and we put him or her in the spell of Maya, and then the child, gets completely influenced by this. And the next thing what we do is that our real planning starts. We want to decorate the child with nice, gold ornaments. That means maybe a gold ring, maybe a gold chain, maybe a gold bangle or a bracelet and so on. And in the process, we say that the child looks even more beautiful. So the beautification starts with the beauty of the body itself from the birth. And then this goes on and on. A stage comes when the child grows and the child is made to believe that you must beautify yourself with all these external aspects. So this is the first flaw that we set in at the time of birth itself. And this is coming from time immemorial. Next, we start planning for the child's, schooling, education. We say that we plan in such a way that we want to put the child in a nice international school. And we say that we want to take pride in telling outside our child is studying in an international school. And you know what this school has got is teaching them French, German, Spanish, whatnot. But there is no Sanskrit. And we don't have any idea, and we say that we want to put the child in the school. So that's another thing we this part of our planning. And then next thing is since we don't have any moral values ourselves because we were not taught, we cannot impart these moral values to our children, and instead we try to make them into a single dimension robo. And the single dimension robo is taught to just study, cram to score wonderful marks, to top the exam chart and be number one, so that you can further go into the best universities and the best colleges, and you can win more awards and prizes to please yourself and to please the parents. Now, what is the flaw here? The flaw is not about education. The flaw is about single dimension, growth. We are not giving them the spiritual dimension at all. And then when the higher studies come, we want to push them to abroad, universities and USA, UK and all those places. And then we tell them that, in life it's very important to make money. Life savings are, very important. And as a result, we even for studies itself, we try to arrange some loans for them, and the loan journey starts. And to repay that, they have to work, have a good salary, then get bigger house, then have more comforts, have a car, house, and then they have, they marry, enter Grastha life, they have big. So the same thing is continuing without a proper sense of direction. And we make them believe that opulent life or comfortable life devoid, of the main, we are missing the main purpose, that is purpose of human life. And as a result, the ignorance growing further, and it becomes like a hard nut to crack. It becomes very difficult. So this is exactly what Prabhupada is saying here when he says that the so-called scientists are making various plans by which living entities in future can live forever. But while thus pursuing such scientific knowledge, Yamaraj in due course of time will take away their business of so-called research. So when death comes because of some disease, okay, Then scientists immediately do research. They find some cure for that. And we say, my God, now I'm free. Many years back, plague was a threat. Now plague is no more a threat. Then cholera was a threat, epidemic. Now cholera is no more a threat. Then typhoid, then HIV, then this and that, then cancer came. Now, of course, COVID. So every disease, new disease comes, the scientists get a cure after some years, okay? But then the higher authorities or higher power comes with something more. So a wise person will analyze the situation and he will say that we are no match. We can never match the superpower. Whatever we do, he is always above us and he can always surpass us in our wisdom. So in the process of, doing our duties, in our household life, the head of the family, he goes through what Prabhupada calls as pa, fa, ba, ba, ma. So he does lot of parishram, hard work, until, the fur. So the pa for parishram, then the fur comes out, that is foam. The foam is like, camel's example he gives. The camel works so hard in the desert that you can see virtually the foam coming out. So pa, fur, then ba, bandhan. He gets more and more tighter into the circle of the family knots because he feels that he owes a lot to his family, society. So he works even more harder. He wants to get bigger name, fame in this particular so-called plan of lifestyle. And then another birth. Once he has acquired all these assets and a lot of bank balance and things, then there is bhaya, fear of losing it, sense of insecurity. And finally, in all these things, ma comes and ma is mrityu. He has out of fear, the ma will come and then ma will take him away. And all this planning that he made for his entire life, is completely gone for a toss. So what does Prahlad Maharaj say? Prahlad Maharaj says that, excuse me, that you should imagine that you are going to leave the body next moment. So you should start the devotional service at a very young age. Kaumaram acharat pragnyo. At a very young, Kaumaram, that is 5 years and below. From that age, if you start, that is the real age to start devotional service. And we should start, our journey, spiritual journey from that time. And as we grow, Prabhupada has given a simple formula of, ABCD. ABCD, A for association, associate with Vaishnavas, associate with spiritual master, serve the spiritual master, serve the Vaishnavas. B for scriptures, books. Books gives you, the books are the basis. So you read all the, so Gyani you can get from the books. And then C for chanting. That means we should never forget the name of Krishna. Always chant Krishna, never forget Krishna. So C for chanting. So by chanting continuously, we can, a stage comes when we don't want to be even without chanting for a moment, like as we understand from the Namacharya. And D is for diet, or taking only Krishna's prasadam. So that way we can try to purify our senses, right from jiva, and each and every sense will gradually get purified, and slowly, steadily, our entire senses will purify, the mind gets purified, the intellect becomes sharper, and then the soul will be coming to a stage of self-realization. And that realization is, as our Lord Kapila calls it as Satyadrik. So Satyadrik is a stage of self-realization where the person will see the reflections of Supreme Personality of Godhead in virtually in everything around him. Okay, Sadhavasena. Sadhavasena means that we suppose if I see a rose and the rose has got a nice fragrance. So this fragrance I will associate with Supreme Lord, and therefore I'll give it back to the Supreme Lord. I'll keep it at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. But if I have no knowledge, spiritual knowledge, then the same rose becomes a cause for my sense gratification. I will use it for my own self purpose. So if a person is not getting knowledge, then he gets into the trap of deeper and deeper quicksand, and then it is said that he will fall into the stage of nasta vita ivaturaha. Nasta vita ivatura means, that means when he will associate himself with the fortune, and when the fortune is lost, he will consider himself as lost. He will not be able to dissociate himself from the fortune. For him, he and his assets are one and the same. That means I and mine. All that I possess is actually me and nothing beyond that. So that is a very condemned situation as per this verse today, and that is what Prabhupada has brought out in this verse. So here it clearly says that whatever we do, ultimately we all have to vacate. Prabhupada says this planet is like this place like a dharmashala. You stay for some time, and after that you have to vacate. Sorry, no vacancy, now get out. So we will be kicked out. Okay. So even if somebody wants to artificially live for some time by taking, immortal medicines and all that, or yogi, at the end of the day, he has to leave, vacate. Even Brahma has to vacate his place. So this is the situation of the material universe, dear devotees, and we get a lot of wisdom from these two verses today. And we need to correlate this with even our lives. I'm sure each one of you would have experienced this at some point or other in our lives, even before Krishna, we came to Krishna consciousness. And like I'm able to correlate some of my episodes before Krishna conscious, and I can clearly see that what is mentioned here has actually practically happened with me. So therefore, it is the earlier we realize that ahani bhutani gachanti yamalayam, we are better off. So with this, I would like to conclude here. I'm sorry I've gone slightly over time today, and I beg to all the Vaishnavas here to forgive if I have said something incorrectly, and feel free to ask any questions or comments so that we can make this session even more lively. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Roji. Thank you. Yeah, we'll take one or two questions if anyone is having any suggestions. Yeah, if anyone is having any question regarding today's class, they can raise the hand and ask His Grace Shyam Chandra Prabhu. Yes, Yamaraj, please make it short.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, you gave many practical examples, realizations, and I think you said something that knowledge or Gyani, I think, is not sufficient. What you mean means knowledge is not sufficient.
Yeah.
Gyani. So you differentiate between knowledge and Gyani. Gyani is not sufficient.
No, it is not sufficient.
What is not sufficient? What is not?
Yeah. Because see, here we understand from this episode of Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu is knowledgeable. Hiranyakashipu is having knowledge, but it is not enough because he is not self-realized. So to get self-realization, this knowledge with the practical approach to serve, Vaishnavas, to serve a higher authority. Now, Hiranyakashipu was not considering anybody as a higher authority. For him, he himself was the topmost authority. So somebody might have knowledge, but unless he is coming to the part of bhakti, and bhakti means devotional service. So knowledge applied spiritual technology, as Guru Maharaj would say, application. When you apply the knowledge, you realize the knowledge, and then it's a continuous process. You serve the devotees, and in a very tadvidi pranipatena manner, then only that the self-realization part, that means this jnanivas tattva darshana, that is transferred. Upadakshanta te jnanam. So that is transferred to the devotee. Otherwise, it cannot be transferred. Knowledge will remain as a bookish knowledge. I can be a scholar, but I cannot be a devotee. So here, it is very clear that Hiranyakashipu had knowledge. Otherwise, he has a knowledge of matter and spirit. He cannot be preaching this, but he is not self-realized. That's why he is trying to kill Vishnu. He is making plans, ambitious plans to kill Vishnu. This is my humble understanding, Maharaj. You can correct me, or you can, tell me something.
Because so scholars Can they be called Gyani?
Sorry?
Scholars can be called Gyani? It's Gyan, how you define Gyan?
See, Gyan is...
And so when you say Gyan is not sufficient, what is, which is not sufficient? We all seek knowledge or Gyan.
Yeah, see, in this...
Wisdom.
Yeah, now see, in this, even in this yoga ladder, we understand in Bhagavad Gita that a jnani is, above, jnana yoga is above karma yoga. Okay. Now, at the same time, bhakti yoga is the topmost. So, what is missing in jnana yoga? So, a jnani has got knowledge, but a jnani does not know who is the Supreme Personality and how to serve him. The personal aspect he does not know. He may just know that there is a Brahman feature. He may want to, aspire to get birth with the Brahman. But he will not go beyond the Brahman. He will not be able to go to the Goloka. He cannot understand the personal Bhagavan aspect of the Lord. Because there is no service.
So on whose authority you call him Gyani then? Can he be called Gyani?
Sorry, Maharaj.
Who Krishna calls Gyani? That we can use as the standard for Gyani. Huh? Because oftentimes we end up calling people Gyani who are not Gyani actually.
Yes.
From
Yes.
Krishna. So that's why this word Gyani becomes mixed up. So please elaborate on Krishna's definition of Gyani.
So Krishna...
Then we can...
Sorry? Yeah. Okay. So Krishna actually considers Gyani as a person who can see him as a Paramatma sitting within his heart. That is a localized Paramatma. So that means he is meditating and then he achieves that a siddhi, yogic siddhi powers. So he will have all the powers, but then he will be devoid of the sweet mellow exchange with the Lord. So that knowledge, that service he will not have. So he will just be able to meditate upon the localized Paramatma feature within his heart, and then he will be situated at that platform. He will not be going beyond that. Whereas a bhakta is able to go beyond that, and he understands that there is a person who is actually responsible for that, and that person, Supreme Personality, is Lord himself.
Krishna describes only a devotee as Gyani. No one else he considers Gyani. This is how we can quote Bhagavad Gita a couple of places. Tesham Gyani Nitya Yuktam. Correct? Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanvan. One who surrenders to Krishna is Gyani. One who is ekantically Tesham Gyani Nitya Yuktam Eka Bhakti Vishishyate. Correct? So only a devotee is Gyani. Everyone else is Agyani. But we just end up giving them the credit that they are Gyani. Krishna does not accept them as Gyani.
Yes, you are
so
right.
We follow Krishna or anyone else.
See, the general understanding is also important, that how people perceive the yoga ladder.
Yes, so that general understanding is not enough.
Yeah. True, Maharaj. True.
We have to give proper definition of Gyani or Gyan, because ultimately Gyan is also within the three modes, and there is also transcendental knowledge. And that is also Mannishtam Nirgunam Smritam. Krishna says, one who is devoted to me, one who is situated in me, one who has Nishtha of Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna says that he's the Nirgun Gyani, transcendental. So the knowledge in the mode of goodness even is not sufficient. That's what maybe you wanted to say, isn't it?
Yeah, but here basically I was comparing with Hiranyakashipu's knowledge. Now Hiranyakashipu is not in the mode of goodness also. He is clearly in the mode of passion and ignorance, and at the same time he is possessing knowledge. So I'm actually comparing that knowledge. See, the knowledge that people have, saying that I'm not his body, I'm the spirit soul, is the first level of knowledge that we get from Bhagavad Gita. So Hiranyakashipu has that knowledge, and he's able to quote all the things from Vedas. So he is complete in knowledge. But what is missing in Hiranyakashipu then? So that is the part I was trying to bring out by saying that if we have that kind of knowledge, it is not enough, because despite having the knowledge, he's having a grudge against the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's making plans to kill him. How can one do that? So therefore, there is clearly something that is missing, and that missing is self-realization. He is not realized, and that realization comes only for bhaktas, and the bhaktas will come with a process. That is a devotional service process. That is what I was trying to explain.
Wonderful.
Maharaj, you can further elaborate or add, because with my limited knowledge, I've tried to present this particular,
Knowledge is like most people, the information is considered knowledge many times. But knowledge or gyan, literal meaning, etymologically, it means the anubhuti, anubhav. What you experience is knowledge.
yeah.
Isn't it? Ultimately, whether you are learned through bookish knowledge and all these things, but what you experience is knowledge.
Yes.
ज्ञान ज्ञेय, ज्ञेय means something which is experience, जिसकी अनुभूति होती है उसे ज्ञान कहते हैं ना.
True.
So जो अनुभूति in a mode of ignorance, in a mode of passion, mode of goodness, that is also not sufficient. Only when the anubhuti is transcendental, then one can be called Gyani. Until then, only the Agyani, because the anubhuti is only in the three modes, within the three modes. That's why the Kaivalyam Jnanam, that I am the spirit soul, I am not this material body, it is not sufficient, because it does not deliver one. Naishkarmyam api achyuta bhava varjitam na shobhate jnanam alam niranjanam. Even the so-called purifying knowledge that you are not this matter, but you are the spirit, it is not very attractive, because it does not actually ultimately help you. You are helped only when you experience your connection to Krishna. Before that, not. That's why. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank you.
Snail Madhav Prabhuji is having a question. Prabhuji, please.
Hello. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanyavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dhanyavad Pranam.
So I have since Hiranyakashipu is quoting Yamaraj, so just like Prabhupada gives this argument, like child may not know 2 + 2 = 4, but if he hears from his father and if he repeats the same to his professor, 2 + 2 = 4, child may be foolish, but his knowledge is perfect, right? So in the same way, our Yamaraj is, our Hiranyakashipu is also quoting Yamaraj. It means his knowledge is perfect, but at the same time, he's also accepting the authority, right? Otherwise, why he will quote Yamaraj if he doesn't accept the authority of, if he doesn't recognize the higher authority of Yamaraj, why he quotes? So from these two things, we can understand he is also accepting, recognizing higher authority. But what is the problem with Hiranyakashipu, which when it comes to his practical applications, he fails?
No, what is the question? Is it a question or a comment? Neelmada Prabhu?
Yeah, it's a question I want to ask, like, even though Hiranyakashipu himself has knowledge, from accepting from Yamaraj, but at the practical level, after this episode, like when he goes to tapasya for getting the boon from, so what actually is missing in his attitude or something, like why actually though he has this difference between matter and spirit knowledge, why is unable to apply in his life? This is my question. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so this was covered in the previous discussion when Maharaj asked and we were discussing this. So actually, if you see, Hiranyakashipu is not a person who accepts authority. See, the people who quote scriptures, that is basically to show their knowledge. That's just a demonstration of their knowledge. And by doing that, they want to show that they know it. You know, somebody who accepts an authority will be more submissive and he will try to serve. See, let's say you accept your guru as an authority. What's the next step you will do? You will see what your guru wants, what pleases him, how to serve him. So that is the next step, the submissive approach. That is what we are taught, tadvidi pranipatena praniprashnena seva, isn't it? So Hiranyakashipu's approach is just that he wants to basically, diffuse the situation. He saw that there is some, lamentation going on, and he had some knowledge. He has knowledge. So he tried to draw inspiration from the knowledge and present it. But there is a difference between knowledge, just having knowledge, and realized knowledge. Guru Maharaj always says applied technology, spiritual technology. The spiritual technology is application of the spiritual knowledge. So Hiranyakashipu has not experienced that. So therefore, he was not self-realized person per se. That was a problem with him. And he went to Brahma for the boon. So he thought that Brahma was the ultimate. So he did not have much knowledge beyond the material, and he thought that I can kill Vishnu. So why does this thought ever come? It's purely because he was in the mode of ignorance. He was not even in the mode of goodness. He was in the mode of ignorance. So you can have knowledge in different levels, different modes, but how you take it and how you reciprocate shows in which mode you are situated in. So Hiranyakashipu was in mode of ignorance. That's why he was not able to accept the ultimate authority. Okay? Is it clear, Neelmada Prabhu?
Yeah, it's clear, but I couldn't understand this point. Like, his knowledge is perfect. Like this, like even Prabhupada tells we might not be perfect, but the knowledge we are giving it from Krishna, from the authority. So Yamaraj is also from one of the Mahajan. So Hiranyakashipu is quoting one of the Mahajan. So his knowledge is perfect, right?
Yeah, knowledge is perfect. See, one second. Now let me explain a different way. Now from Bhagavad Gita, we come to know that Denosmin yata deve kaumaram yogananjana tata dehantara praptim dhiras tatra muyati. So you have this knowledge, I have this knowledge, correct? So from Bhagavad Gita, we understand that we are not body, we are spirit. Now knowledge we have got. To what extent, you tell me, we are able to apply it internally? To what extent? In every action that you do, are you able to apply entirely all the teachings of Krishna from Bhagavad Gita? I'm not able to apply. If I would apply, then I would be in a transcendental mode. So I'm not able to. So we are captivated by the modes of material nature, and these three modes are acting on Hiranyakashipu also. So when the modes are acting, you cannot cross the modes. To cross the mode, you have to become a devotee and you have to follow a process. So he was not doing that. So you're right. The knowledge is perfect. So whatever his knowledge is perfect, but he is not applying it. He's just talking. Like we all know from Bhagavad Gita what we have learned, but I'm sure in every activity that we do, are we able to exactly apply it? No. and we cannot, because we are always under the spell of modes of nature. I hope this clarifies your question. Neel Madha Prabhu? He is muted.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Okay, welcome. Hare Krishna.
Maybe we can conclude for the day.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhuji. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Iti Pavana Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Pavana Srila Gurudev ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Gaur Premanande Hari
Hari Hari.
Pancha Kalpaturuvescha Kripa Sindhuvecha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavi Ananta Koti Vaishnavi ki jai.
Shyam Chandra Prabhu ki jai. Thank you all for joining.